If you're an esthetician wondering which AI is actually worth paying for, this video is for you. By the end, you'll know exactly which AI tool is the best for running each part of your business, so you stop wasting time on the wrong ones. And here's the thing, you don't need AI to give better treatments to your clients. You have that handled. What eats up your time is everything around the appointment. Writing that Instagram caption, answering texts, educating clients, recommending products, sending emails, and trying to keep your marketing consistent while you're booked all day long. That's where AI can really shine. It's not replacing your expertise. It's helping you package and communicate it to get some more hours back to earn every week just to make your life easier. So here are some of the biggest ways I see estheticians using AI right now. Content and marketing. So creating those Instagram captions, the reels, emails, promotions, and those educational posts. Client communication. So replying to consultation requests, booking questions, follow-ups, aftercare. And then finally, your business strategy. So here you have pricing, membership, retail recommendations, and different growth ideas. A question I get all the time is, hey, which AI is best? And the answer is, there really isn't a best. They're all just better at different things. So I've used like ChatGPT, for example, since the day it launched, along with Claude, Gemini for many years. And I use almost all three every single day for writing, brainstorming, marketing, and just running my business. And over that time, I've really found some clear winners and a few surprising weaknesses, and one AI that I think most estheticians should probably start with. So in this video, I'm going to break down where each one shines, where each one falls short, and how to get the most out of your subscription to these models. So let's dive into the cost. A good place to start is with pricing. The good news is you don't have to think too hard about this. They're all $20 a month. The real difference here isn't necessarily the price, it's what you get for that $20, especially when it comes to usage. So usage just means how much you can use with the AI before it asks you to slow down or come back later. So as time goes on, you'll be on a free plan. All these models, especially with the free plans, have gotten a lot smaller. So this really matters more than it used to. Now, if you only use AI a few times a day, say proofreading an email, tweaking a caption, you'll probably never hit a limit on any of them. But if you're asking hundreds of questions, uploading documents, or chatting for hours at a time with the AI, you're probably going to get told to wait. So in my experience here, ChatGPT lets you go the longest before you ever have to think about the limits. Gemini is right behind it, and then Claude tends to hit that cap pretty quick because there's huge responses. So another thing you'll hear about is your context window. Think of this as the AI's working memory, or how much information it can hold on during the conversation. Where it really starts to matter is those long documents. So think about an entire training manual, a big client guide, or I talked to one esthetician that was doing this, is rebuilding an entire business plan from scratch with AI's help. That's where Claude and especially Gemini have an edge. They really give you those huge context windows. And it's one of those things that sounds impressive, but won't actually influence which AIs rep for you unless you're working with hundreds of pages of documents. For 99% of the time, you'll never notice a difference. Next, we're going to talk about which one's the easiest and has the best everyday experience. So this is something that's definitely harder to measure on paper. What's it actually like to use these every day? So when I think about ease of use, I'm looking at a few things like which is easiest to pick up. That gives me a good answer without a bunch of back and forth. And honestly, which one do I have the best experience using? Do I actually enjoy it? For me, based on my experience with ChatGPT, and a lot of it could be, I'll admit I have some bias. I've been using it since day one. It's pretty easy to influence, navigate, and as I've used it over the years, I found that it starts to learn exactly what I want more often. It doesn't necessarily need to explain things to me 3 different ways. And the last thing I want to do is spend 5 minutes writing a prompt because AI missed the point. So ChatGPT tends to get pretty close on the first try. I'll say that Claude's enjoyable as well. Just a different personality. It's more thoughtful and detailed, and sometimes that's exactly what I want, especially for longer writing or working on that big business plan, right? Other times it's a little too wordy and I end up asking it to simplify and shorten. I like to use the term make more concise pretty often. Gemini, the third option, is pretty straightforward and fast. Sometimes it's a little bit more, needs a little bit more direction to get it to where I want to land, but I'm a heavy user of Gmail, Google Docs, Google Drive, and it feels well integrated into those experiences. Now, voice mode is another thing that's becoming surprisingly important to me. Being able to just talk to the AI instead of typing everything out. Once again, ChatGPT is still my winner here. Gemini Live is pretty solid as well, especially you're already, like I said, deep into Google's ecosystem. You have an Android, think of it operating like Siri. That's a pretty nice experience. And then Claude also has voice now. It's a new addition. It works pretty well, but it's not quite as polished and as natural as ChatGPT is yet. I've noticed that ChatGPT, much more than the others, really start to pick up on your writing style, your product lines, how you like to talk to clients. Let's say there's an example influencer out there that you think has really creative things. You can tell it, hey, write this how this influencer would. It'll help you out and get you closer to that point. So instead of starting this conversation from scratch every time, it's pretty personalized to you. And at the end of the day, this category isn't just about who has the best features. It's about which one you actually reach for without thinking twice. You always open up Google. Well, you want the AI model that you choose to be in the same way and be extremely approachable. With that being said, if I just started out today and I recommend one for somebody as far as ease of use goes, pick ChatGPT. So now let's break down a few ways that I've seen estheticians using it and ways that you can integrate your workflow. So the first one's content creation and marketing. This is probably what most estheticians use AI for. It's creating those promotions, those captions, the educational posts, helping you fine tune a blog post, even YouTube scripts like this. Plus bigger picture things like, hey, how do I write a Black Friday promo that accomplishes this, and this goal? Well, AI is going to help you really brainstorm, give you tons of different options, and really help you accomplish whatever you're looking to do. Now, ChatGPT is my best for, hey, I'm going to real quick open up the app. I need some quick marketing ideas, captions, maybe some social posts, campaign angles, really fast at generating a ton of different options. You can even tell it, hey, give me 25 options for writing this caption. I'm going to pick the best one. Or ask for 5 ways to frame a Mother's Day gift card offer. So you get real options to mix and match and really nail it with just a couple of edits. Now I'll say Claude is a really strong writer. So for long articles, in-depth guides, if you're doing research, reasoning, that's where it really shines. I would describe it as polished and thoughtful and good at phrasing things so I don't feel too salesy, but it tends to overwrite. So you're going to have to ask, like I said earlier, hey, make this more concise, be more punchy, and give me something that's ready to post. Like, I don't want to go over this certain amount of word limit. Now, Gemini, the third option, is pretty capable, but not as consistent. So sometimes it nails it. Sometimes I'm refining the prompt way more than I want to. But building with Google Slides or Docs can also be really convenient. It integrates there, right? And there's a real convenience factor to staying in one ecosystem for everything you have. Now, one thing that matters more than which tool you pick is your prompt. So write an Instagram caption might get you an answer. Tell your audience, tell your service, the tone, the call to action, the output improves a ton regardless of the model. So the more information, the more context, and the more you instruct it, it's going to really refine it. And don't always settle for the first response. Ask for multiple options. Treat it as a first draft and not necessarily the finished response. So your bottom line is, if you're looking for speed, ready to go options, once again, our winner is going to be ChatGPT. If you're looking for writing quality, the why behind things, go with Claude. If you want to be in the Google ecosystem, Gemini is a great option here for content creation and marketing. All right, next is client communication. So you know that feeling of starting a DM for 10 minutes, trying to sound warm, nice to a client? This is where AI can save you real time. So let's say you're replying to a skin concern DM, a consult follow-up, maybe you're sending aftercare instructions or working with a vendor. This is where you can use AI to help you craft a response. Draft something up. Hey, this is what I'm thinking to say. Ask AI, hey, help me make this more professional, more polished. And AI can really help you save a ton of time editing iterations to get something out. Now, you want to be careful though to make it not impersonal. There's obvious AI tells too, like the dreaded M dash. And you want to make it, let's say somebody's reaching out to you about a breakout concern. You actually want to make it sound like it came from a person. So you can tell AI, hey, make sure that it still sounds like how I write. And as you start using these models more and more, it'll start to get closer and closer to exactly what you're looking for. You can tell it things like, hey, be more professional, be more warm, and don't overdo the sympathy. There's lots of things, just like a human, that you can instruct it to do. So now, as far as the models go, Claude's my favorite here. It really gives you a good balance between being professional, warm, even with a simple prompt, and doesn't overdo things when you're addressing clients. It reads the room a little bit and understands, okay, maybe I need more sympathy in this post. Now, ChatGPT is pretty close behind. It actually gets, like I've been saying, it gets a lot better as you use it. It starts to pick up your tone. So replies feel more like you the more you use it. Gemini, the third option, it can do it, but it leans generic unless you spell out really the exact situation. It's going to take you a ton of time to do that. It needs more editing to land the right tone, but it's not bad. So a quick example would be, instead of typing, hey, Sarah Miller, who had the reaction to the retinol serum last Tuesday, wants to reschedule. Just prompt it, a client is asking to reschedule due to breakouts. Same useful reply, but zero identifying info. So one important habit, regardless of which tool you use, don't put full names, contact details, health history when you're using prompting or when you're prompting the AI. Describe the situation generally instead of putting in identifying details. It's a little habit that protects your clients either way. So now the third category is your business insights. This is where AI stops asking to write for you and starts thinking, hey, how can I improve your pricing strategy, membership models, retail structure, or even rebuilding a business plan from scratch like I was talking about earlier. So this is where context window and size is very important. You can upload your full pricing sheet, business plan. Heck, you can even say, hey, go to my booking tool and analyze everything I have. So because of Claude and Gemini's larger context windows, you're not going to be stuck feeding in multiple questions, prompts. That's why Claude is my go-to for this. It thinks through the business questions really thoroughly and asks good clarifying questions before answering. It's pretty useful for something like, hey, should I raise my price? What is the competition doing? Is a membership right for me? It won't just tell you what you want to hear. Now, ChatGPT is also strong here, especially if you want something that's faster, more actionable, get a clear pros and cons list, or a plan you can act on right away. Gemini I don't use as much for this type of work. When it's conversational or strategic, for me, it's Claude or ChatGPT. And one important thing I'll warn you about is AI is not going to be able to figure out your local market, your clients, or your numbers unless you tell it. So treat it as a starting framework and not necessarily the final answer. Make sure you just double check anything involving pricing, legal business structure with someone who actually knows in your market, especially when the stakes are high. So that comes to the $1,000,000 question, which one should you actually use? So here's how I'd sum it up if you're trying to decide, okay, I'm gonna spend my $20, I'm gonna pick one model and I'm gonna stick with it. So if you're new to AI, want something easy, conversational, or you're mostly doing like short form content, captions, like marketing copy, brainstorming, ChatGPT. It's approachable, has a really good voice mode, and gets you results on the first try way more than the other two. So if you're doing longer, more polished content or handling client communication where you want to be really precise with tone, it's something sensitive, try out Claude. Now, if you're thinking through bigger business decisions or working with long documents like a business plan or pricing, once again, pick Claude. Gemini for me is second place. Now, if you're already living in the Google ecosystem, Gmail, Drive, all those things and want everything to be connected, use Gemini. And honestly, you don't have to pick one. A lot of estheticians I talk to end up using ChatGPT for day-to-day. They like the app, they like the voice, they do it for quick tasks, and use Claude when they need something really well written, they're working on through a bigger decision for their business. So you don't need to necessarily pick one, try one, cancel your subscription, try a different one, or pay for all of them at once.